So my recent video on Halloween has caused quite a stir and caused a bit of confusion. And so if you're someone that understood my heart in the previous video on Halloween, this is not for you. This is for people who completely misunderstood what I was saying and took my words out of context, heard what I was not saying and misunderstood my heart entirely, or just simply maybe you weren't listening with an open mind to consider what it was that I was saying from the scripture. So to be very clear, I don't like Halloween, and I'm just reading off some notes that I wrote. I want nothing to do with anything revolving around Halloween, but this is not about my preference or my personal convictions. I know people are just wondering, well, what do you think? It sounds like you're tiptoeing around the issue. It sounds like you're approving of it. It sounds like you're commending this. This is about what the scripture teaches about, not necessarily what I personally am convicted about in my own conscience in regards to what me and my family can do. I already explained why I believe this is a gray area issue and not an issue of, morally evil versus morally right. But again, we want to just look at the scriptures and say, what does it say? What does God say about Halloween and all the different things surrounding paganism? And so just note, I'm not trying to give license or find excuses to celebrate Halloween. I'm just wondering, what does Scripture genuinely say about this? What does God truly say about these things? So I was not directly giving any approval to celebrate Halloween or permission for people to go out about the festivities of Halloween, nor do you need my permission or my approval. All that matters is God's opinion and your convictions being rooted in God's truth and a proper understanding of His truth rather than man's tradition. So I don't want your decision or your convictions regarding Halloween to be solely based on what me and my wife are convicted about regarding Halloween. Maybe what we think should be a factor in how you think through these things and maybe what you conclude, but you should never base your convictions and decisions to do something or not do something purely based off another's convictions. You need your convictions to be rooted in a proper understanding of Scripture, not just second-handedly passed down from someone else or inherited from a pastor or a brother or sister you respect. And so the dangers regarding Halloween are, number one, that it not only involves much of what God explicitly forbids in the Scripture, but it celebrates death, like just outright, very explicitly and overtly. And the danger, I think, for both children and adults. This is not just an issue for, the minors. This is an issue for everyone. The real danger is that the festivities in the season would desensitize people to things such as death, things such as magic and sorcery and necromancy, involvement with spirits, involvement with the dead, and other things that we should not be desensitized to. When something is normalized and celebrated, particularly in our culture, for a season or on a specific day, it desensitizes children in particular and proves to be a threat to them. And it desensitizes them to the evil of these things and normalizes it. So the issue is not so much in simply allowing certain things to happen, but allowing certain thought patterns to take root in the hearts and minds of our children and people in general. We don't want to normalize what God forbids and hates. This is why my family and I personally, if you're just like, what do you think? What will you be doing? My family and I will not be partaking in any Halloween festivities apart from like drawing silly faces or designs on pumpkins and then baking the pumpkin seeds because they taste like popcorn and they're delicious. So I said in my previous video, just because something is not inherently sinful does not mean that it is good. It does not mean that it doesn't carry any spiritual element to it or weight to it. Some of these things can become stepping stones. They're not always, but they can become stepping stones to sin. They can begin to plant ideas and desires and thought patterns in people's hearts and minds that eventually develop into more destructive tendencies and allowances for things and ways of thinking that are expressed through life. So personally, I don't think there's any reason to view the Halloween day or season as particularly unique for any set of activities. Fall activities seem to be distinct from Halloween festivities, though sometimes they overlap. But these are just my thoughts. You might have permission to do something that is not necessarily sinful or directly condemned in the scripture, but do you have legitimate godly reason to do something or that thing? I don't think we should stop at seeking permission from God, and that's what people are really doing when it comes to issues such as this. They just want permission from God. Just tell me I can do it. But asking for divine purpose and for reason to do something is different than simply asking for permission to do what you've already decided to do in your heart. And so, while not inherently sinful and evil or even completely spiritual, some activities and components of Halloween are destructive in the sense that they're stepping stones to something worse, and they become gateways into what is more destructive in the long run for that person's life, whether that be exposure to certain things, being desensitized to certain things like death and evil spirits and necromancy and fear and certain ways of thinking that God, does not say we should allow to be normalized. While I don't think we should live in perpetual fear of these things, which is where some of you are at, we should fight back with the light to redeem the day for the glory of God. We should not then take the other extreme and be unreasonably open to things without being biblically sound and critical and spirit-led and prayerful. Again, what we do not want to do is normalize things like fear and death. Because if you just look at something as simple as decorations, there's just bones everywhere. There's ghosts, there's witches. And again, while these may be innocent to some people, they become stepping stones and begin to plant seeds for other people and desensitize children to things and even adults that should not be normalized. And so other characteristics of Halloween that are completely unbiblical and ungodly, we do not want to be associated with these things. If you'd like my further thoughts on the history, the activities, the concept of redeeming pagan activities in the scriptures, you can go watch the full video that I just did on Halloween on our channel.